Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I booked Table 3 at Ferry Street Bistro, the one Lauren and I once joked about being cursed because it was too close to the kitchen door. Back then, the clattering pans and garlic smell made us laugh. I thought if I brought her back there, maybe we could laugh again. She texted earlier that day, "I'll be there. Promise." I believed her. I arrived 15 minutes early, envelope in my jacket pocket. Inside were tickets for a weekend trip upstate. Cabin, lake view, everything set. My plan was simple. Dinner, wine, hand her the envelope, ask her to start over with me. 10 years deserved more than small talk and calendar clashes. The hostess led me to Table 3. I ordered the Pinot Lauren liked and waited. 10 minutes, 20, 40. The waiter kept hovering, pen ready, pity in his eyes. At the 50-minute mark, I pulled out my phone. Her location was on. It didn't say Ferry Street. It said the Terrace House, across town. I knew the name. Exclusive rooftop events, by invitation only, mostly hosted by Brandon, the man she just called my boss when I asked too many questions. My chest didn't burn. It went cold. When the waiter finally returned, I pushed the menu back. "I'll take the check. And leave the wine." I placed the envelope with the tickets on the table, tucked just beside the glass, a gift no one would open. Not a tear, not a scene, just silence. She had chosen her boss's dinner. So I made my first move, walking away before she could explain. When I unlocked the apartment later that night, the silence was heavy. I didn't sit down. I didn't pace. I started moving. Drawer by drawer, shelf by shelf, I chose only what was mine. I wasn't packing. I was extracting, removing pieces of myself so I wouldn't leave crumbs for her to step over later. When I reached her office, the room she'd declared off limits months ago, I stopped. For a moment, I thought about turning back. Then I stepped inside. Her desk was immaculate, not a paper out of place. I pulled a flash drive from my pocket and set it in the center. Taped to it was a yellow sticky note. Play once. The file on it was simple. Our wedding vows, recorded the night before we said them. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even a reminder. It was proof of what she'd chosen to forget. I slipped my keys into an envelope and left it with the building concierge. "She'll need these," I told him. He gave me the kind of look that said he already knew the story without hearing a word. By midnight, I was checked into a motel. Cracked tiles in the bathroom, a buzzing neon sign outside. None of it mattered. I didn't need comfort. I needed an absence. The phone buzzed once at 12:47 a.m. "Where are you? This isn't funny." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I slid it face down on the nightstand. No answer. No explanations. My exit had started, and for once, I wasn't going to talk my way back inside. By morning, the calls had multiplied. First a string of missed ones, then voicemails. The first was clipped. "Mark, answer your phone. We need to talk." The second had irritation laced through it. "You're being childish. It was a work dinner, that's all." By the third, her voice shifted. Lower, a hint of worry. "Please call me back. I don't know what you're doing." I didn't respond. I kept the phone on vibrate and left it like it belonged to someone else. That night, I met Drake at an all-night diner off Maple Street. He'd been my friend since college, one of the few who didn't need long explanations. Over coffee, I told him about the dinner, the location check, and the silence. Drake leaned back in the booth, shaking his head. He couldn't believe Lauren had skipped our anniversary for her boss's rooftop party and expected me to accept it without question. His advice was blunt. Don't let her control the story. He told me to separate everything, money, mail, access, before she had the chance to spin the situation as me being unstable. By the time I left the diner, the plan was forming. The next day, I switched my paycheck to a new account, disconnected from the joint one. That night, another voicemail came. "It was just business, Mark." Nothing else. "You're overreacting." I pressed delete before she finished. From then on, I gave myself a rule. No answering calls, no responding to voicemails at all. If she wanted to say something, she'd have to write it. Words on a screen don't twist as easily as tone in the air. Back in the motel, I locked the door, slid the chair under the handle, and sat in the silence. This wasn't panic. It was a strategy. 2 days later, it wasn't Lauren who came looking for me. It was Brandon. I was at my sister Maya's house, staying on her couch while I figured out the next steps. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Maya opened it, and I heard his voice before I saw him. Smooth, casual, like he was addressing a boardroom. Is Mark here? Lauren's worried sick. Maya's voice was flat. Who are you? Brandon. Lauren and I work together. I just want a quick word with Mark. I stayed in the hallway, listening. Maya didn't budge. He doesn't need a word from you. Brandon let out a practiced chuckle. Look, I know how this looks. But you should know, Mark's been under a lot of pressure. It's affecting how he's seeing things. I came to clear the air. There was a pause, then papers rustling. I have something here. Just an agreement, really. A goodwill gesture. If Mark wants to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, we can make sure this doesn't spiral. Maya cut him off. Did you just bring hush money to my door? His tone hardened. It's not that. It's just best for everyone if this doesn't become messy. Careers are on the line. I stepped closer but stayed out of sight. Every word told me exactly what Lauren had been feeding him, that I was unstable, overreacting, irrational. The strategy was obvious. Discredit me before I could speak. Maya's voice rose, steady as steel. You've got 10 seconds to go before I call the police. Take your folder with you. For a moment, silence. Then he laughed softly, like he wasn't used to anyone telling him no. His shoes scraped against the walkway as he left. I waited until his car pulled away before stepping into the room. Maya crossed her arms. You hear that? Every word, I said. She shook her head. He's scared. That's why he came himself. Don't give him what he wants. I didn't plan to. Silence had been my move from the start. Lauren showed up at Maya's place 3 nights later. No flowers, no tears. Instead, she carried a vinyl record, our first favorite album, the one we used to play on Sunday mornings. She held it out like a peace offering. I just want to talk, she said. Maya looked at me, waiting. I nodded once. She let Lauren in but stayed close, arms folded. Lauren set the record on the coffee table. It wasn't what you think, Mark. The dinner was professional. Donors, investors, all of it. Brandon exaggerated. I didn't want to cancel on you, but I cut in. You didn't cancel. You just didn't show up. Her jaw tightened. It was one night. A mistake in timing. That's all. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Funny. The timing matches the receipt Brandon signed at the bar. 11:30 p.m. You were still there? Not home. Not even a text. She blinked. You checked? Yes. And you weren't just there for cocktails. People posted pictures from the rooftop. You laughed at jokes you never mentioned. You smiled in ways I haven't seen in years. Don't stand here and tell me it was business. Her voice cracked, just a little. Nothing happened. I swear. I drank too much, that's all. He made a joke. I laughed, but I came home to you. I shook my head. No. You came home to a bed. Silence stretched. Then she whispered the line that broke whatever was left. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I let that hang in the room. Because that was the truth, stripped bare. She never thought I had it in me. You were counting on me to stay, I said. That's the problem. Lauren's eyes darted between me and Maya. What do you want me to do? I stood. It's not about what I want anymore. We're separating. A lawyer will call. No late-night visits. No more stories about me being unstable. You made your choice. Now live with it. Her shoulders slumped, but she didn't argue. She left the record on the table and walked out without looking back. It didn't take long for Lauren to adjust her tactics. A week later, my phone buzzed with texts from mutual friends. Hey man, are you okay? Lauren said, you're just overwhelmed and taking space. We heard you've been under a lot of stress. Want to grab a beer? I knew what she was doing, reframing the story. To them, she was the concerned wife. I was the unstable husband. Classic misdirection. I didn't argue. I didn't post a rebuttal. No rants, no explanations. Silence had weight, and I was letting it press down on her version of events. Then the break came from a place I didn't expect. Late one night, Drake sent me a link. Watch this, his text said. It was a 30-second Instagram story posted by Camilla, one of Brandon's assistants. It wasn't meant to expose anyone, just a clip of the rooftop party, all clinking glasses and city lights. But in the corner, clear enough if you paused, was Lauren. Brandon leaned in too close, his hand resting on her chair, then her knee. She tilted her head back, laughing, not a trace of discomfort. Camilla tagged the video with harmless captions: "Terrace nights, work celebration." But once people noticed the two of them in the frame, it spread fast. By morning, I had 4 private messages. One just sent the screenshot. Another said, "I'm sorry. I should have believed you." For the first time, I didn't feel the need to defend myself. The picture spoke louder than any statement I could make. Lauren went silent on her socials. No cryptic posts, no clarifications, which told me everything. She knew the narrative was collapsing and she was waiting it out. But the silence didn't protect her this time. It exposed her. And for the first time since the night at Ferry Street, I felt something close to relief. Lauren's connection with Brandon didn't last long once the video spread. What she thought was an advantage, being close to him, invited into his circle, turned fragile under public eyes. Brandon's attention vanished almost overnight. The same man she'd chosen over our anniversary began stepping back, worried about his position and reputation. For him, it had always been about image, not loyalty. The risk she took against our marriage didn't just fail, it exposed her and showed her she had gambled everything for nothing. After the video made its rounds, I stopped checking my phone every hour. Messages from friends came in, but I didn't chase them or explain myself. I didn't need to. The truth had leaked on its own. I moved into a small studio across town. 1 room, creaky floors, a kitchen that smelled faintly of old paint. My name was on the lease, no tension in the air. I set up a workbench against the wall and started repairing old cameras and amps, side jobs I'd let slide during the marriage. There was something grounding about taking apart broken pieces, figuring out how they fit again, and deciding which parts weren't worth saving. I rejoined a pickup basketball group at the rec center, ran a few miles in the mornings, and started to feel my lungs again. I stood straighter without noticing. The fold had started to come undone. Friends I hadn't seen in years reached out, not with pity but with recognition. Meanwhile, the legal part moved forward. A mediator sent the first draft of the separation terms. I kept it clean. Divide what was shared, no public accusations, no financial games. I didn't want revenge. I wanted out. Then, one evening, a text from Lauren lit up my phone. "I miss you. Tell me what you need from me." I stared at it for a long time. My answer was simple, even if I never typed it. What I needed, I already had. Space, clarity, and a life that didn't orbit her anymore. The last time I saw Lauren, it wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no tears. Just 2 people meeting at a corner cafe with manila envelopes and a stack of papers between them. She looked tired, dressed sharp as always, but her eyes had that hollow shine that comes when charm doesn't work anymore. She slid the documents toward me. "The mediator said we should go over the last details together." I nodded, signed where I needed to, and pushed the folder back. Silence stretched between us until she broke it. "Mark," she said quietly, "is there any way back from this? Any path where we can start again?" I didn't hesitate. "No. We keep it clean. We move on." She tried to hold my gaze, searching for something that wasn't there anymore. When she realized it, she reached into her bag and pulled out the record she'd left at Maya's. She set it on the table. "You should keep this." I shook my head. "It's yours. I'm not carrying things that don't belong to me anymore." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us felt like the final draft of a story we both knew was over. When I stood to leave, a candle on the counter caught my eye. It flickered the same way the one at table 3 had that night. Only this time, I didn't wait for it to burn out on its own. I reached over and pinched the flame myself, the wick curling into smoke. That was the difference. The first night ended because she chose her boss's dinner over me. This one ended because I chose to close it. I walked out without looking back. No speeches, no revenge. Just a silent exit she'd never forget. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. 3 days before my wedding, my phone buzzed while I was at my desk. It was Lisa. The message was longer than usual, and I read it twice before I let it sink in. "Hey, Michael, just want to be open with you. Andrew reached out, and he's been struggling with his mom's health. I think he needs me. I'll be staying at his lake house Thursday and Friday night, just for closure. Nothing will happen, I promise. The wedding's still on. Love you." Andrew Martin, her ex of 4 years, the man she swore she was finished with when she and I started dating 2 years ago. I stared at the message. Then I typed back, "Handle what you need." She responded instantly, "Thank you. You're the most secure man I know. This is why I'm marrying you. You get me." I didn't reply. Instead, I called the venue. "Hi, this is Michael Harper. I need to cancel the event scheduled for this Saturday." The coordinator gasped, "Sir, that's 3 days away. Are you sure? You'll lose your deposit." "That's fine. Cancel everything. Venue, catering, music, flowers." "All right, I'll process it immediately." Next, I called the travel agent for our honeymoon package. Canceled. Lost another deposit. I didn't care. By 5 o'clock, I was at the apartment Lisa and I shared, packing only what belonged to me: clothes, laptop, a few books. I moved my things into my friend Daniel Green's spare room that night. He asked no questions, just handed me a beer and a pillow. When Lisa called me later, I let it ring. I'd already said enough. That text told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't going to argue, beg, or make speeches. She wanted closure. She had it. By Thursday morning, the cancellations had started to ripple. Lisa had insisted on being copied on all vendor emails. That's how she found out. At 10:12 a.m., she texted me, "Michael, what the hell is this? The venue says everything is canceled. Tell me this is a mistake." I didn't answer. 5 minutes later came another. "You're being dramatic. It's 2 nights, just for closure. Why are you ruining our wedding?" Then her maid of honor, Sarah Allen, jumped in. "Michael, talk to her. She's crying right now. This isn't fair." The calls started around noon. First, Lisa's mother, Margaret, her voice sharp on voicemail. "You answer this phone right now, young man. Do you know how many family members are flying in? You cannot do this to us." I didn't pick up. Instead, I was in Daniel's kitchen. He scrolled through his phone, reading me the barrage of messages. "She's got half the bridal party in a group chat now. Want me to say anything?" "Just tell them to ask Lisa about her text," I said. At 2 o'clock, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Lisa. It was Andrew. "Bro, this is a misunderstanding. Lisa was just being kind. Nothing's happening. Don't throw everything away over 2 nights." I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back one line. "You invited my fiancé to stay with you 2 nights before our wedding. What exactly did you think would happen?" No reply came after that. By late afternoon, Lisa called again. I let it go to voicemail. Her tone had shifted from anger to pleading. "Michael, please. You're overreacting. We need to talk face to face. I love you. Let's fix this." I listened once, then deleted it. The facts were simple. She'd chosen to spend the last nights before our wedding with her ex. My answer had already been given. There was nothing left to discuss. That night, while I was sitting on Daniel's couch, his phone buzzed again. He tilted the screen toward me. "Lisa just posted on Instagram," he said. The caption read, "Our wedding is postponed. Michael is struggling with anxiety and panic. Please keep him in your prayers." Daniel looked at me. "You want to let that sit?" "No," I said. I opened my own account, uploaded a screenshot of Lisa's original message about Andrew, and typed one line. No panic, no anxiety, just boundaries. Then I logged off. By morning, the comments were chaos. Around noon, the intercom at Daniel's building buzzed. Daniel checked the camera and raised his eyebrows. "You're not going to believe this." On the screen stood Lisa, her parents Margaret and Edward, Sarah, and, of course, Andrew. Daniel pressed the speaker button. Lisa leaned toward the camera. "Michael, please, we need to talk. This is out of hand." I stayed quiet. Andrew tried next. "Man to man, Michael. She was just being honest. You can't punish her for that." Daniel snorted into the mic. "You're the guy who invited his ex-fiancée to sleep over 2 nights before her wedding. You really think you should be here?" Lisa's face hardened. "I was doing you a favor by telling you the truth. Most women wouldn't." That was all I needed to hear. Margaret started shouting, Edward tried to calm her, Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear, and Andrew stood there with his hands in his pockets. Security showed up within minutes and escorted them out. Later that evening, Daniel scrolled through his phone again and shook his head. She posted a story. Wine glasses at Andrew's place. Caption says, Sometimes the universe shows you where you're meant to be. I poured myself a drink. Good. Now everyone can see exactly what closure means to her. Friday afternoon was supposed to be the rehearsal. Instead, Daniel's phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He answered on speaker. "Is this Mr. Harper?" a woman asked. Daniel glanced at me. "He's here." "This is the chapel office. There's a situation. Miss Patterson and her mother are here insisting the rehearsal is still scheduled. But sir, you canceled 2 days ago. We have a university recital booked tonight." I leaned closer. "It's canceled. I'm not responsible for whatever they're trying to pull." In the background, Margaret's voice rose sharp and angry. "You can't do this to my daughter. My family is on their way." Someone else threatened to call campus security. We hung up. Not long after, Edward found another number to reach me. "Michael, it's Edward. You can't just walk away from this. Do you realize what this is doing to Lisa?" "I realize exactly what it's doing," I said. "She's been posting from Andrews Lake House since last night. Did she tell you that?" Silence. Then the line clicked dead. That evening, Lisa and Margaret tried to stage a replacement dinner at a restaurant. Out of 60 invited, 12 showed up. Daniel pulled up photos on Facebook. Lisa at the head of the table, eyes red, Andrew seated beside her. Even her own sister wasn't there. By 10 o'clock, the fiasco had spilled online again. Lisa went live on Instagram, glass of wine in her hand. Her voice trembled. "I just want everyone to know the truth. I never cheated. I just needed closure. Michael said it was fine. He's making me out to be a villain." In the comments, someone wrote, "You were literally at Andrew's place." Lisa fumbled with the camera. This isn't true." Another comment, "Didn't you just say Michael has panic attacks? Which is it?" Off-screen, Andrew's voice cut through. "Lisa, end it. You're making it worse." The feed went dark. Daniel laughed. "She's burying herself." I nodded. "And I don't have to lift a finger." Saturday morning, the day everything was supposed to happen, Daniel woke me up with his phone in hand. "You'll want to see this," he said. On his screen were photos from the Botanical Gardens, the venue we'd booked months before. Dozens of people in suits and dresses were wandering around, looking lost. There was no wedding. The gardens were hosting a children's charity gala, and now my former guests were colliding with clowns, face painters, and balloons. Apparently, Margaret had told people the ceremony was postponed but still worth showing up for. One video showed her at the reception desk, arguing with staff. "You have to let us use the atrium. My daughter is the bride." The manager stood firm. "Ma'am, this event was canceled by the groom. Please step aside." Then came the real twist. A silver sedan pulled up, and out stepped Natalie Martin, Andrew's sister. She wasn't dressed for a wedding. She was dressed for war. Someone's phone camera caught the scene as she walked straight to Lisa, who was standing near the fountain with Andrew at her side. Natalie's voice was clear. "Lisa, stop lying. Mom never had a health scare. Andrew's been bragging for weeks that you were doing a 2-night test drive before the wedding. He showed me the messages." Lisa's face drained of color. "That's not true." Andrew stammered, "Natalie, stay out of this." But she kept going. "You told me yourself, Andrew, that if Lisa stayed with you those 2 nights, you'd prove the connection was stronger than anything she had with Michael. There was no crisis. You used our mother as an excuse." The crowd around them grew quiet. A few of Lisa's relatives started whispering. Someone filmed the whole confrontation, and I knew it would spread by evening. Meanwhile, I was miles away. The chaos belonged to them now. Daniel later told me, "Michael, you couldn't have scripted it better." And he was right. I hadn't needed to. They did it themselves. That Saturday night, after the Gardens fiasco, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Daniel showing me updates. It was Lisa herself. She'd used her spare key to get into our old apartment. The message she sent made my jaw tighten. It was a photo, Lisa in her wedding dress, standing in the middle of what used to be our bedroom. The caption read, "This could have been our night." A few minutes later, another text followed. "I'm here. If you want to talk, I'll listen." I sat on the edge of the couch and typed my reply carefully. "Check your email." Earlier that week, once I'd moved out, I'd already spoken to the landlord. I'd terminated the lease effective the end of the month, signed the paperwork, and transferred utilities out of my name. I also closed the joint wedding account and froze the shared credit card we'd set up. A copy of the termination notice had been sent to Lisa's inbox that morning. Her response came fast. "You can't do this." "Where am I supposed to live?" "Not my problem anymore," I typed. "You have options." She called me 5 times in a row. I didn't answer. She left voice messages that swung between begging and fury. "We can fix this, Michael. You're pathetic for walking away. I love you. Please don't throw this away. You'll regret this." I didn't listen to the rest. By Sunday, she was gone from the apartment. Margaret posted a vague update about Lisa, taking time to heal. Daniel's cousin, who kept tabs on local gossip, later told me Lisa had moved in with Andrew. Not at his supposed lake house, but at a small rented sublet above a hardware store. So much for a fresh start. I didn't need to say a word. She'd written her ending the moment she chose to put that dress on and try one last stunt. All I had to do was close the door. The weeks that followed were cleaner than I expected. Once the wedding day passed, people stopped looking at me for answers. They had seen enough. Vendors reached out directly. The florist refused to work with Lisa's family again after Margaret stormed into their shop demanding refunds. The venue placed her name on a problem client list. Word spread fast in our city's event circles. Then came the Patterson family fracture. Edward filed for divorce. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that he'd discovered Margaret had encouraged Lisa's plan with Andrew because she thought Andrew had come into money from a lawsuit. When Edward pressed, she admitted she never liked me because I wasn't ambitious enough. Funny, considering I'd just cleared a 6-figure salary as a systems analyst. Meanwhile, Lisa and Andrew made their arrangement official, or as official as 2 people living above a hardware store can. Social media painted them as inseparable, but the truth leaked out quickly. Andrew didn't propose. He told her after 2 divorces he didn't believe in marriage anymore. Screenshots of his dating app profile circulated within weeks. Lisa kept posting couple selfies, pretending not to notice. Andrew's own family turned their backs. His sister Natalie sent me a message. "You dodged a bullet." Mom's furious that he lied about her health just to manipulate Lisa. They've cut him off. I let her know I appreciated the clarity. On my end, things moved upward. My manager called me into his office 2 months later. "You've been focused and sharp lately. No distractions. We're moving you into a lead role. Promotion, raise, new responsibilities. All because I cut dead weight before it ruined me." Outside of work, I started spending more time with Priya from my running group. It began with a coffee after a Saturday jog, then dinners, then climbing sessions at the gym. She knew the whole story by then. One night, she laughed and said, "If my fiancé ever tried that closure stunt, I would have packed his bags for him." I smiled. That's the difference. You don't need closure when you know what you want. Looking back, it started with a single text. The wedding's still on, but I'm spending the last few nights before with my ex for closure. That message ended one future and gave me the space to choose a better one. Thank you for watching.